Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric. I got a really fun and really random episode for you guys this Friday because there has been a big revelation in 3DO and 3DO M2 history, dumping, and knowledge. And it is all my fault we did not know about this years sooner. I will tell you the story on what's going on in a little bit, but I want to kind of preface this video what it is all talking about. Because if you've been watching my channel since the beginning, you know I love the 3DO and the 3DO M2, and I've been doing my best to preserve all of the software and games for it. So much so that showing a little demo of the SDK here running on a PowerBook G3, I was able to make a demo disc that I'll talk about in a little bit. The software development kit's always been around. It's been around for years, and with this bad direct capture from that G3, I was able to create different disk images by compiling them with the Opera SDK operating system. Basically, the 3DO M2 had a full operating system in front of the hardware. You weren't coding to the bare metal. You had that layer of abstraction with the operating system internally. But apparently, we didn't have the source code. I say apparently, I knew that. For the longest time, people were looking for the source code for the 3DO M2 SDK. So much so that apparently there's another collector out there that claims to have it and says that they're not allowed to release it. Well, guess what? I would like to change that today. That's where the fun is, but we still have to deal with story time before I get to that point. But basically, with this software development kit, I was able to create that 3DO M2 demo disc that Eurogamer, Kotaku, and a couple other press sites wrote up, and I made this abstract here because I didn't want to show you guys what I was making at that point in time, but I learned enough about the software development kit to be able to create some software. I was sent an archive of files, and inside of that archive there were different demos that were used when the press was shown the 3DO M2 hardware. Different small little internal things that would have been able to show the press and people what M2 was capable of. The thing is though, I am not a software developer, I'm not a computer science engineer, I am a fine art filmmaker, so anything I could do like get the Iron Blood demos working again, or deal with that compilation disc that was released, that was done by sheer luck on my end, and I did have some help from some unindicted co-conspirators that were able to help me a little bit more to get something like this out into the public, because my goal with this entire channel and my thought process with gaming and preservation is everything deserves to be shared. If I can give it to you, I do. Even if a small amount of people can enjoy it on original hardware, if something's in my collection and it does not exist out in the world, I will dump it and release it for free for people to enjoy it. I've always done that, I will always continue to do that, and I was able to show the world off all these fully interactive demos from when the 3DO M2 was in development. These were things that had either been never seen before in motion, just in magazine clips, or in some instances they'd never been seen at all. But here's where we get a little bit more involved with story time, because I was given an entire archive by someone who wants to remain anonymous 3 years ago. And what I did was I unpacked it, went through it, took a look around, kind of notated what demos are here, like this, you know, kind of Optimus Prime looking Transformer, and I released all this stuff, no big deal. There was another zip file in there that I could have sworn I had sent to two different people. A guy by the name of TrapExit and a guy by the name of Fixel, two people on the 3DO Discords. I had emailed them a bunch of files to look through and they didn't find anything of note on there. Well, here's the thing about that. I dragged and dropped the zip files into an email, and I missed one. I did have all the D2 content here, the only known playable files of the 3DO M2 build, and I did a lot of stuff from Iron Blood, both the normal version and the enhanced version from the 3DO M2 as well. But what was in that zip file that I forgot to send, the one that I thought I had given them 2 years ago, and just this morning, I'm doing the video voiceover the same day, that I say, wait, no, didn't I send that to you? And they said no. Well, inside of that is the full source code for the 3DO M2 software development kit and a lot of different source for the hardware. And going through this, in this folder, you can see everything that is available. This is basically the 3DO M2 library, for lack of a better term, if you don't understand what source code is, because even I, while I understand what it is, don't know what I'm looking at 9 out of 10 times. So my assumption was this material was not relevant or was not useful to the people that are working in 3DO and 3DO M2 coding, emulation, reverse engineering, all the things that make this even more fun. But the reality of the situation was, they were extremely interested in it, and when they actually found out what it was that I sent, they realized that this was basically the culmination of a lot of people hunting around for this material. It was all in one folder. It's apparently about 98% of the entire original 3DO M2 SDK source code, and that is going to be very useful for reverse engineering things, for making different things work, because already today alone, and I'm sure we've learned more since this video goes live, it's Monday and I'm releasing it on a Friday because I want these files out into the world, we're getting an obscene amount of detail out of this. And you can see there's a little copyright.txt. We won't worry about that. I don't think Panasonic will mind. It was from 1996 after all. And you can see this was from October 8th of 1996. After the hardware had been finalized and after things like the engineering sample consoles and other sample consoles had been shown to the public. We were going to have a stick driver, steering wheel, mouse. What is glasses driver? Were there going to be 3D glasses for the 3DO M2? No one ever talked about it, but that's what it makes me think, because these are clearly controller options: mouse, steering wheel, stick, and glasses. So just the info we're gleaning from the controllers makes it seem like the M2 was designed for other things. And there's so much content in here that probably will be learned more about shortly, and I will update this video as we learn more, because it's not only useful from a making things perspective, it's also useful from a historical standpoint. But what are some of the key takeaways from this dump? Well, the encryption keys for the 3DO M2. We were never able to encrypt software before, but now we have the public key for the 3DO M2, and there's a 3DO key in there as well, but we knew that. But hey, we got the encryption keys for 3DO M2 as of Monday. They didn't exist before. Well, they did. I just forgot that I had the file. And you can see some of the different text here in that C format. What else did we find? Well, the cell engine, the graphics processor for the original 3DO, is apparently baked into the silicon on one of the chips. Also on another one of the chips is an ARM engine, and I'll explain more what that means later, but you can even see some of the plain text of the intro to the SDK and other things saying that if this system is an upgrade system, make sure Opera's attached. That means that backwards compatibility for the 3DO M2 was baked into the hardware now as planned. These two chips here have basically an entire 3DO system built into them, because these chips are dated very close to that SDK where we're still available. They were coding for that. There's so many interesting things in this file, and I feel like a little bit of a putz for not realizing that I actually had this in my system on a hard drive somewhere. I totally missed, even though I've been collecting for years, even though I've been archiving everything. I screwed up and I forgot to send somebody a file, but I rectified that today. But how does that happen? I just have so much 3DO M2 stuff and so many different file archives that I thought I've actively gone through correctly, but apparently I missed at least one. So I'm going to be going back through my entire collection, not of the printed disk software. It's just fun to show you all the M2 stuff that I actually have, but all the different file archives I have to make sure there's not some other things hanging out in there, because I really don't know what is going on with all my files, because a lot of times I have 5 to 10 minutes to look at them and then I need to make a video or I need to go to work because I'm a studio director, so sometimes I just run out of time. But I've covered so much about the 3DO M2, but now that we know that there's a 3DO baked into the console hardware, that probably means there's a 3DO console baked into the arcade hardware. So your brain can start churning around and wondering, what more can we do with this hardware? Because there's a lot of features we never knew existed. There's a lot more knowledge being found today, tomorrow, and the next day from that source code of the SDK. We're finding more out about the hardware, about how the software works, how to reverse engineer things. I think there's going to be a lot of really fun discoveries outside of all the stuff I've shown for the hardware and software for the arcade and the console kiosk variant. I'm really excited for that, because hopefully soon we will have something extra fun to show about this kiosk hardware, because it might be playing more than it does right now. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Don't hold me to that. There was even some more information gleaned from this zip file that might actually get us to the point where this FC21S1 engineering sample will boot code, because apparently the BIOS files that were on those cards were not put on in a manner that it was expecting. It was done correctly, but not correctly enough, and I will expand on that more in a future video. But the main takeaway of this is the following. The full source code, or 98% of it, for the 3DO M2 SDK and all that hardware involved within has been found. It was found 3 years ago, I just didn't realize it. It has been dumped and the links are below. You can do whatever you wish with it. And the only other statement I will make is that If there's something else out there 3DO M2 related and someone has it and won't dump it, I will find it separately and I will release it for free for everybody to enjoy. And that's what I love doing, that's what I'll continue to do, and that's what I expound as a philosophy. Share things. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.